This week on Socratic Cinema.
I'm going to be sobbing like a child.
Charlie and I were talking about, we were saying before we started recording, we were like, Kasey's going to come in. We were like, Kasey totally ate this up. Like, Kasey was destroyed by this movie for sure.
Yay.
I want to say one thing about It's a Wonderful Life. I actually have been exposed to It's a Wonderful Life through the lovely television show that is Beavis and Butthead. Who let us be on Podbean?
Okay, you are slandering Podbean right now. This is a conversation for off air.
Hey, guys, can I tell you a quick little tale? A little jaunt, a little story?
I would love to hear a small narrative.
I'd love to.
Yeah. So it's actually really weird. There's like a Trader Joe's on campus, right? And I walked down the gold brick paved road to it with my butler, obviously. And when we got into the Trader Joe's, it was really weird because I went to go buy bagels. And I was looking through the bagels and I was like, there's plain, there's like onion. And then I saw everything bagels. And I was like, oh, those look delicious. But then to the left of the everything bagels, I saw like the everything bagels. And it was like a big giant black hole. And I got sucked into it. And I'm sort of like seeing multiple realities at once. Is that normal or should I see a doctor?
So are you saying that you're seeing everything everywhere all at once, Charlie?
Welcome to the Socratic Cinema podcast. My name's Charlie Heatherly.
I'm James DeLisio.
And I'm Kasey Clark.
And Kasey is the best bit partner ever.
Yeah.
Incredibly.
I didn't do much because I was hung up on the fact, do you actually have a Trader Joe's on campus?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Stupid USC.
God. every day I grow closer to class revolution.
For real.
Hate and war.
All right.
Hate and war.
Look, it's tough for us. It's like a 5-minute walk.
Wow.
It's not out the door.
You must be very brave.
I am.
You
actually.
are so brave.
Well,
wait, so guys, what I couldn't tell from the bit. What movie are we talking about?
We're talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once. The much acclaimed movie of 2022. Many people are saying that this is the best picture of the year. I would say rightfully so, but there's been a ton of talk about it, and we might be just a tad bit late for talking about it.
Yeah.
Just like
Just
a tad.
But I think, everything in its time. I think, it happened for a reason. There's a reason that we spent so many weeks talking about like Willy's Wonderland and stuff instead of this.
Yes, Willy's Wonderland. Some say a superior movie.
Every disappointment, every rejection has led us to this moment. Much like in the movie when they go to everywhere, everything all at once.
God damn it. This could be the worst bit. Just put through the entire podcast. We just find different ways to say everything everywhere all at once. But okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this crazy stew that we've been brewing. So we haven't talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we should have, right? We're a movie review podcast, and this was the most talked about movie, and we didn't do it. And I'm not putting the blame on anyone. And I'm certainly not saying that there's a hero to this story who's been petitioning to watch this movie for months upon months.
Wait, okay, hold on. I just want to say, I'm looking at everything we did when this movie was coming out. It's kind of all warranted.
Yeah.
Like we had to pick our battles. I don't know what else to say. Willy's Wonderland episode came out before this movie did, so I think
right, that would be the only one.
Look, we were talking about what? Turning Red, Batman, Coda. Like these were, it's a hard
also
call.
Important films. Yeah,
right. It's
hard call. But we finally made it, and one of the main advantages of this is that we have the advantage of perspective on something that was this huge cultural phenomenon. What is the, how did it all shake out? Like, what happened? Like, this movie was popular for a month. Where is it now? What are people saying about it? Does it still hold up? I mean, in that, like, in the cultural consciousness, is this still the best movie of 2022? So let's talk about it. Let's go in with our initial takes. And let's mix it up. Let's go with Kasey.
Oh, wow. Whoa. All right. I'll just jump right in. I absolutely loved this movie. I was watching it when I was stuck inside of my on-duty room for 5 hours, and it was the best experience ever. I love a wacko movie. I loved the premise of it. I loved the rules of the movie. I love that it sticked to the rules of the movie for the
Yeah.
most part. Like that is great. If you can have a movie that has a completely bonkers like just bonkers lore, bonkers rules, bonkers exposition, and stay with it throughout the entire movie. Now that's amazing. The performances were hands down amazing. I really have nothing bad to say about the movie. That when we watched Nope, I said that Nope was my movie of the year. Now this is my movie of the year. I
Whoa.
feel like I was very, very like nervous because, as you guys know, as our listeners, I'm a very emotional movie watcher, and just seeing all the reviews of like, yeah, saw those with my mom, we cried. I was like, listen, I'm self-aware enough to know that the issues that I'm going to be carrying into this movie, I'm going to be sobbing like a child. Like,
Charlie and I were
and
talking about, we were saying before we started recording, we were like, Kasey's gonna come in. We were like, Kasey totally ate this up. Like Kasey was destroyed by this movie for sure.
dude, they know they know me. And the only reason why I wasn't babbling like a baby was because I had residents and parents coming in.
You were working.
I was working.
Oh my God.
Imagine going up
And I
and
was
you're like,
trying to keep it together. And I'm like,
the front desk lady is like,
just sobbing. I'm like, sorry.
so wait, did you watch this on like a phone? I'm just
No, I
curious
watched it on my iPad. At times, I
Oh.
had to put it into like the small screen. We know what scenes, um, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't seen this before. I can't be held responsible for whatever comes up on my big screen. But at times, it was on my full screen, and I was just watching it in my lap. But it was amazing. It's a 10 out of 10. Like we can get into all of the meat and
Wow.
potatoes, but I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Like I love a weirdo movie that means something and means something like
Yes.
very, very deeply. You know, like once you cut through all of that, like, oh my gosh, haha, quirky, haha, funny. Oh my gosh, this is so weird. And it makes you cry. Are you serious, my brother? Yeah. Take it. Take it all. Take all the tens across the board. All right. I'm done.
Wow.
Wow. James.
All right. First, let me just say in unequivocal terms, because I feel like my opinion is always the one that people get upset about. I feel like recently Charlie and I have swapped places. I really like this movie. This is a really great movie. I feel like I have less to say about what the movie is and how the movie is because it's like it's really good. And I mean, what do you want me to say? It's really good. But I'm very interested in like this movie as I was talking to Charlie about it, like a cultural moment. Like this
Yeah.
movie kind of came out of nowhere and then took the world by storm. It was the number one. I don't know if it still is, but for a time it was the number one rated film on Letterboxd. It was like people were genuinely like, this is the best movie ever made. I don't know that I'd go that far. But it was really, really good. I mean, I never saw it. This was my first time watching it. And you know what? I have an interesting relationship with hype and expectations with media. So I want to talk more about that going in to the episode. Cause it's an interesting thing, you know, going into a movie knowing like this is the movie that everyone like loves. This is everyone's new favorite movie. And I like that's heavy information to have going into something. And I'm very easily swayed by that sort of by expectations. Um yeah, but it was great. I thought, you know, the humor is not entirely my brand. Right. I mean, I understand that randomness is the point, and I think it did randomness very well. But I also think that just in general, like there were some things where I was like, this isn't my personal brand, but I understand that it's what the movie's doing. Um, yeah, I don't know how I don't think I'd say it's my movie of the year. I don't know if I'd even put it in top 3 just because there's been some bangers this year. Um, we can talk about it, top movies of the year. in the episode. But I didn't give it a rating on Letterboxd, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to give it an out of 10 rating right now. Jury's still out.
Whoa.
Jury's still out on this one.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't
okay.
know where I rate it yet.
Whoa. I mean, this is a
we'll hold
first.
space for that.
Yeah, I know it's
opinion.
unprecedented. I hope we'll allow it, but I don't know yet. I haven't decided where I sit yet. I mean,
Alright,
I like
well.
it. I sit over in the like camp for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what number describes my feelings.
Ah. All right. Well, the dude abides. I'll let it slide.
Okay.
You get this one, DeLisio.
All right. Never again, boss.
Perfect. But I saw this movie when it came out like 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh, look at you.
And I watched it again literally hours before this podcast. I've been very busy. And for some reason, I remember coming out of the theater and being like, that was really, really good, but not like that was the greatest movie I've ever seen. Like, I thought that it was just fine. And I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was very creative, but I think maybe also the humor rubbed me a little bit of the wrong way. And then I rewatched it, and it was even better than I remembered. And I think I sort of got it more the second time. Like, I focused much more on the themes, and I was able to connect a lot more stuff, because one of the things with this movie is that it's a lot of information coming at you at once. It is everything everywhere all at once. And you have to sift through a lot of the wacky zaniness of it to find like the real gems of theme and what they're actually talking about when they say and make all of these weird rules. And I feel like I got something out of it that is unique to me, because there is a lot of things that we can say about this movie that we are not necessarily the most qualified to talk about. Like, there is a lot of conversation in this movie about Asian American problems and identity conflicts and all this sort of stuff. The idea that, you know, you have this multiverse of different personalities, and like the word Asian American, it's hyphenated, and it's like these different people that you have to be. Like, that was some journalist's take on it. And we could talk about that, but I don't think we're the right people to. Or at least I don't feel like I'm the right person to.
Yeah, I want to stand with you on that one, my brother.
Yeah. But like, James and I don't really have the perspective to say those things, but I do have a perspective to share of my own that is a take that I haven't necessarily heard yet, but is something that I feel like the movie spoke to me with. So this movie, I think, is the best YouTube movie ever made. And let me explain that.
Real. Yeah, real.
Like, it feels like this is Corridor Crew's best action that they've ever done. It feels like it has the wacky, random zaniness of the internet. It feels like it has the nihilism of the internet. And it feels like it's captured a lot of the YouTube filmmaking techniques that we've seen before, and it's made them professional, and it's made them very palatable in a way that a mass market audience can really enjoy. And it's sort of really awesome. Like, you get to see things that I've seen in YouTube videos done like semi-poorly, and here it's done really well. Like, in all of the fight scenes, whenever they hit someone, they put in a CGI smoke effect. And it's like, obviously that's not a practical effect. It's obviously in CGI, because, you know, otherwise they're putting chalk on like literally everything in the scene. But it works in this movie because the CGI team was so small and did such a good job. And it's because this movie was so low budget that you get a lot of these effects. But they really leaned into that low budget. They really leaned into the heart. And I feel like they used YouTube movies as a huge inspiration, and we'll talk more about it later. But for all these reasons, it speaks to me. And if a movie speaks to me in that way and makes me feel these kinds of things and make these kinds of connections, I can't give it anything but a 10. It makes you think so much. It makes you feel so much. You really do have to see it if you haven't already. But moving the discussion into more of an open form, I'm really curious about, James, what are your top 3 movies that go above this?
I'm happy to talk about it. So I feel like my top 3 movies of 2022, I haven't figured out the order for them yet, but I think my favorite is probably The Batman. That was just such a movie. I just loved it.
Cinema.
It was cinema. Dare I say
cinema.
that word, the K word. Batman was just really good, and I loved it was so refreshing to have like a superhero movie that had how you say vision. Um, so
Okay.
that was I just loved the Batman, and I love like Seven and those kinds of movies, and Batman fell into that tradition. And I also would put Cha Cha Real Smooth in my top three because that is me now. I'm he. Moving on. The third one is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Wow.
Hmm.
Another A24 pick.
Yeah, that one was just Marcel the Shell with Shoes On was very nice and sweet and had a surprising amount to say about the ethics of documentary filmmaking. That was a fun movie, and I think everyone should watch that.
From these three movies, it sounds like you own a canvas bag. Like it's just matching that theme.
I have a I have a I don't think it's not made of canvas, but I do have a little tote that I got from a library.
Carhartt.
Oh, yep, that fits. Yep, tote from library.
Yep. Yep.
So those are my top three. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this movie. It was one of those movies where I was like, man, that was really good. I definitely see why it's so many people's favorites, but it just got edged out by other stuff that I personally clicked with a lot more. Because I think one thing with this movie, right? It's got that whole message of like, oh, nothing matters, sad face. Wait, nothing matters, happy face, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's such a bonkers message the first time you hear it, right? If this is the first time you encounter that sort of thinking about like nihilism and absurdism and Camus and all, then it's gonna be like radical and life changing. But like if you've already been exposed to that kind of message before, it's like, oh wow, that was really good. I know. I don't nah, that sounds kind of high and mighty, but like it's less radical, I think, if you've seen this sort of message in media before. Or in I guess media is the word, which like I have. So maybe it's just that I like came at it with different I don't know how to explain. It's like a similar feeling I had to when I read this book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. That's like heralded as one of the best, most life-changing books of all time. And when I read it, I was like, I feel like I've seen this before. I think we've talked about it in other episodes where you get so used to seeing the derivatives of something that when you go back and see the original, you're like, oh, I've seen this already.
I think
weird phenomena.
Yeah, and I think you're entirely right. Like the idea that nothing matters but be happy is something that's been explored in philosophy a bunch of times. I mean, it's like sort of a little bit of my worldview. Like I'm agnostic, right? So I don't necessarily believe or disbelieve in religion, but like I'm not opposed to the idea that there's not really anything out there, but still be happy and find meaning in the relationships around you. Like this movie is my life philosophy in many ways. Like nothing matters more than the relationships in your life. And oftentimes, if you have a lot of relationships that you really care about, sometimes it does feel like you're stretched so thin that everything is crashing down on you. And you have to be all of these different people and live up to all these different expectations. And you physically can't do it. It feels like you are split across the multiverse trying to do it. So I connect to the movie a lot in that way. And although I've seen that type of message before in media, I think it still connects very poignantly here because it does what I think media is really good at doing. And it's finding this truth or idea about humanity and presenting it in some fantastical way that entertains you and simultaneously forces you to look inwards towards yourself. Like it is awesome to me that no other movie has made me look inwards towards myself more this year than the one about sticking googly eyes on rocks and jumping multiverses and a universe where there's hot dog fingers and people use their feet. Like it's amazing that something so ridiculous can have so much heart. And that's oftentimes what a lot of people praise this movie for, is that it somehow balances this impossible balance of all of these ideas coming together. And they're all so disparate and wild, but you still have a very clear message going throughout all of it. And it speaks to the talent of the writers and the filmmakers and directors and actors that they're able to assemble such a presentation, and the editors and everyone else that worked on the film, right? To assemble such a presentation that makes you feel that way.
That definitely is true. I think the
Yeah.
juggling act of tones is definitely like the most impressive part of the movie, and just the straight up the visuals. I know this was working with a
Yeah.
crazy small budget and a crazy small VFX team, and they edited in Adobe Premiere Pro for some reason, and
Yeah.
this movie looks amazing. It rules. I
Yeah.
love the look that everything has. This weird kind of like I don't want to not know what I'm talking about, but like, dare I say, 16 millimeter e grain on stuff. But
Mhm.
it's yeah, I is wildly impressive, and it is impressive how it is able to go from the stupid, ridiculous, randomy stuff to the really poignant, heart wrenching stuff. Like that is yeah, it is very impressive, and I shouldn't. I'm trying not to be a hater while also trying to articulate like perhaps why I like was not as flabbergasted as maybe I was expecting to be.
Mhm. Do a second viewing. I think it really helped me.
Yeah, I probably
Like
will.
I think I felt very similarly to you. And to the people that like watch this movie once and feel like they quote like didn't get it, that's totally fine. Like this is a hard movie to comprehend.
Mm.
But I
Uh,
don't.
well, I really hope I like although I can clearly tell you like this is what the movie's trying to say, it's saying all these sorts of different themes. Like I get it if you're so overwhelmed by the presentation of it that it's hard for you to take away a lot of the heart.
But
Uh,
I don't
and
know. I don't know if I agree. I feel like I feel like this is um I think I disagree a little bit. Not to get argumentative on the argument podcast, but I feel like it is pretty heavy-handed has a negative connotation, but I feel like it's pretty clear. I feel like the arrow shoots straight here. And like
I
it's
think it's clear
about
too.
it's about a lot of things, but I don't think I have a hard time imagining someone watching this and going, "I don't get it." I think is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
I have seen simpler movies.
Not
Uh,
be gotten.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
but Casey, you had something to say.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I agree with Charlie that this movie is a lot and it throws a lot at you. So no one's like when I feel like when he's saying like, oh, it's okay if you don't get it, like it's not like the uppity version of like, oh my gosh, like you just
Ye
don't get it
yeah,
and
'cause
that's
I
completely fine.
my
Like
fear with saying that is that it can feel like you're babying, you know?
yeah, I definitely didn't think that he was taking it in like that uppity, like the uppity connotation of it because it is like, because especially when you're talking about generational trauma or even like a relationship of how your parents treat you or how different cultures acknowledge differences within different like generations, like some people won't get that because they don't immediately experience it or they won't experience or they won't get it on in the levels of depth that the movie is trying to go into, and that's okay. That's just differing like experiences. Like I wouldn't expect someone like just how I like to make points about adoptees and like basically adoption in movies. Like some people will not pick up what I pick up on that, like in that kind of sphere, because that's not their personal experience, which is okay. But I still feel like we have space to be like, yeah, you don't get it. And that's okay. I wish you did. And here's ways that you can like move towards getting it. But I definitely feel like the rewatchability of the movie aids to helping people with that. Like I feel like you can watch this movie over and over again and
For
pick
sure.
out different things and like, oh, I didn't see this before. Oh, I didn't understand that, but now I do, or I'm seeing it in a different light. Or even as Charlie was saying, like it wasn't his favorite movie. Like it was like, okay, yeah, this was good, but it was like, it was like greatest movie ever made. But his experience was elevated and bettered on the second watching. And I would just like to say that on the terms of effects, this movie is what Multiverse of Madness thought it was doing.
Hey,
Yup, yup.
hey.
Oh, such a good
Yeah.
take,
I saw
Casey.
someone online be like, "This movie is way better than Marvel's Multiverse," and I was like, I don't know if that's the serve that you think
No,
it
I'm
is.
not
Like,
saying
no,
it's a
it's like
I'm
no
just saying
one,
how
no
they
one's sitting here
how
going
they
like Marvel
handled
did it.
how they handled the multidimensional aspects of it. Because even if you go and listen back to what we said about Multiverse of Madness, we're like, dang, they kind of had like that montage of going through all of those different multiverses. And you got to touch with like a couple of them.
Yeah.
But I just feel like this movie handled it a lot a lot better holistically, you know?
Yeah,
Like
you
I
do get
feel
to see a
like
lot more.
yeah, you get to see a lot more in pretty much the same runtime. So that's
True.
that was pretty much my
No, I
my
get it. I was not making fun of you. I was making fun of random Twitter user who was
oh
like,
yeah, no, you're
Marvel
good.
bad, retweet, please. Which like I agree. But
okay, James. Hater.
I'm still a
Haterade.
I'm a multiverse of madness apologist, and I won't stop being one.
It's okay. It's the Sam Raimi stan in you.
It's made of duct tape, but I love it. But what was I gonna say about the multiversiness? Is that like the new? Are we gonna see a lot more of this in the future? Do you think? I don't know. I feel like two multiverse movies came out, and suddenly everyone was like, "We're entering the era of the multiverse." Are we? I don't know. There's been like 4 movies so far. I don't know if that's an era.
Isn't the next isn't the next MCU phase called the Multiverse Saga?
Yeah, but like I don't know if that's my point is this is not necessarily an industry-wide trend.
Yes. No, I okay. I get what you're saying. And
I mean, maybe it might be. I'm kind of asking. Like, do you think it
Yeah.
is? Do you think we're gonna see a lot more stuff like this?
I hope so. I feel like if it's done well, like I just love that concept.
Oh, me too.
I just love the concept. And when it's done well, it's usually amazing. Like even Tenet, where it was like, this is not necessarily a multiverse movie. It's more of like time jumpy, but I guess it could fall under a multiverse like broad umbrella. And that movie was amazing, even with the plot holes. You know?
I love anything with alternate listen, here's my take of the day. Here's your James DeLisio hot take of the day, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if he earns a star.
Listen, the OG multiverse movie, you want to know what it is?
Shoot.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
I've never seen it.
Go home. Get off the air. Boo.
Cut his mic.
How? Really?
Yeah.
What do you guys do at Christmas? Like cry?
Watch Elf.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. You can watch. There's a lot of days of Christmas. There's time for more than one movie. But
Elf
Kasey,
every single day.
Kasey,
Are you saying you don't watch Elf 25 days in December?
4 p.m. honey, it's time to watch Elf.
Oh God.
Kasey,
I made the candy pasta again.
Have you seen It's a Wonderful Life?
No, I have not.
What?
Yeah.
You laughed at Charlie. Oh my.
I'm sorry.
Spy
I
on the
support you
inside.
and your love in It's a Wonderful Life. I know like pretty briefly what it's about. It's kind of, it's like partial.
It's kind of like Multiverse of Madness.
No, shut up. Shut up. It's kind of like a Christmas Carol in a way, right? It's like that one, it's based around that one white man at Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to be James.
And it goes through. Sorry, good. Continue, Charlie.
No, you continue.
I'm scrambling. I'm like trying to remember off the top. I haven't like thought about this movie in a while, James. You're the only reason why I think about it. And basically, isn't it him like kind of going through, like he starts off very materialistic and then he kind of sees life through other people's like viewpoints. And it kind of adjusts the way that he sees his own life.
So what you're describing is a plot. So there's this guy and he experiences things and then he changes.
James, am I wrong? Is that not the plot of the movie?
No, kind of. No, it's about a guy who like tries to kill himself and then he wishes he was never born, and then his wish gets granted and he like sees the world where he sees the alternate multiversal timeline where he was never born. And then he's like, oh, my life does matter. hey, guess what it is? It's nothing matters, sad face. Nothing matters, happy face. It's
Isn't
Okay.
this just
Oh.
Christmas Carol? I think Christmas Carol is really the first.
No, Christmas Carol
multiverse
Okay,
is
story
right?
by
I
your
wasn't
definition.
wrong.
Christmas Carol.
I
Christmas
wasn't
Carol is
wrong.
not. Christmas Carol is not alternate timelines. Christmas Carol is time travel. Christmas Carol is past, present, and future. This is
Not necessarily. The future is
okay.
dependent on
That's
what he does in the
true.
present.
That's
So-
true,
So
but
it's multiversal.
I
See, I wasn't
I don't-
completely
I
wrong.
disagree with that reading. I
I'll take
disagree
half
with that
points.
reading. Yeah, no,
Also-
you do. You get partial credit, Kasey.
Yay.
I want to say one thing about It's a Wonderful Life. I actually have been exposed to It's a Wonderful Life through the lovely television show that is Beavis and Butthead.
What
They
are
did.
we talking about?
They did a parody of It's a Wonderful Life where God says these two are too stupid to live. We must kill them. All they do is bring pain. And he sends an angel down, and then it follows I think he only kills Beavis or something. So then Butthead like wants to die too, and then he goes through and like looks at how Beavis is living and says, that guy's a fart knocker. And then I think they beat God or something, and they both survive.
Oh,
But
that's so
Oh,
cool.
Really-
Beavis and Butthead.
you're right. That is peak cinema, James. I think that I've
the
through
Beavis and Butthead
Butthead
version of it.
Yeah, not the original one. That one's bad, but the Beavis and
Okay.
Butthead one touches more at the themes that you want.
Guys, I found our Christmas pick. The Beavis and Butthead version.
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
Nice.
that was my hot take. But I was just gonna say, long story short, before I realized you guys didn't have a childhood, is that
God,
I feel
James.
like alternate timeline movies have been around for a while. I don't know if
Oh, I completely agree.
but so I guess I'm wondering going forward, how many more of these little maybe it's just the fact that we have a new name for it called the multiverse. I
I
don't
have
know.
a take on this.
Mm.
I think that the idea of there being several different personalities that someone maintains at once is coming really into public consciousness, and specifically through like digital means. So like people are becoming a lot more aware of like, this is my avatar, this is my social media persona. Like these are all the different ways that I show myself and present myself. And this even goes into things like, I mean, code switching's been around for a lot longer, but like these are more modern things compared to like the 1800s or whatever. And we're starting to talk about it more and more and more. And even concepts like the metaverse, where, Facebook is like, hey, what if we change our name to Meta and like lose $1 bajillion?
Have you
like,
guys seen World Baby?
Wow.
what is World Baby?
I'm gonna send World Baby to our group chat. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, viewer, you're also in this group chat. So just check your phone
come
for
check
World
out
Baby.
World. I'm gonna drop World Baby real quick. Hold on.
Could you describe World Baby?
It's a picture of it's the metaverse picture, right? Of Mark Zuckerberg standing in the metaverse, right? The famous one that he just posted.
Yes.
And it has been photoshopped to like, it has the Wii game packaging overlaid it, so it says like Wii in the top right, and the Wii game is called World Baby, and it has a $12.29 price tag sticker on it. Because someone said this looks like a Wii game that would be called like World Baby, and you get for $3.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, I
I
would
would-
describe this photo as humorous.
Yeah. I'm still looking for it, but that now you can sort of visualize the meme in your mind's eye.
Yeah. But like,
Mm.
James, you're right. Like the idea that we have this word called multiverse to describe all of this stuff, I think is also aiding in like the public's perception of it. But it's been something we've been talking about as a culture for a very long time. And I think now there's more of it than we were used to, like explicitly more of it. And I definitely foresee us talking more about the multiverse, or quote unquote the multiverse, as time goes on. And it probably is a trend as well. Like it will probably peter out in about 5 to 10 years, like this filmmaking trend of all these multiverse movies. But it's here to stay for a little bit, I would assume. And I think that people can say good stuff about it, like in Everything Everywhere All at Once, where they tie it into Asian American identity, and what I see is like, all the different ways that you present yourself online, things like that. So there's definitely good stuff to be covered in it that is not the awful, awful mess that was Multiverse of Madness. But
No, I think actually the best way to talk about this movie would be actually to only compare it to Marvel. I think that's probably the most holistic way we can do it, and the most
Yeah,
just
really-
movie. we don't need to look at it in its own right. I think that would be
Evelyn's a
foolish.
lot like Captain Marvel when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, they both are spreading this left-wing propaganda, girl power
Yep.
message,
Yep.
and I was
Yep.
just watching it. I was like, "Gosh, we're going too far."
Hey, I'm so glad that
Um,
someone's finally saying it.
Wow.
Because yeah, it's been too long.
I know.
And this is my episode of resignation.
This is my episode of resignation when I found out neither of you, Kasey pretended to have seen It's a Wonderful Life, and then when I asked you, said no.
Pretended.
You tried to get away by laughing at Charlie. You tried to get away by laughing at Charlie.
You turned on me and on James.
Yeah, Charlie.
I'm rogue.
You know what, Charlie? Get back on the team.
I am rogue.
No,
Wow, you're
you-
taking Charlie over me?
No, I'm not on James's side. He apparently thinks that It's a Wonderful Life is the best Christmas movie ever, which is so wrong.
Which
No,
is
it's
very
Muppet
wrong.
Christmas
Obviously,
Carol.
it's Die Hard.
Oh my.
Die hard, die hard. Back on the team, Kasey.
Thank
Hey.
you. I know what to do. I
I'm
know how
starting-
to play the crowd. Anyways, let's circle back, recuperate. I think we were in
I'm
a
sorry.
alternate dimension there.
Yeah,
where-
I have something to talk about.
Okay. Shoot.
I want to talk about the weight of expectations when it comes to participating in media. Have you guys ever gone to see a movie and everyone was like, "This movie sucks. This movie," and then you go see it and you're like, "I kind of liked it." And then you feel really embarrassed because it's like, "Oh no, everyone hated this movie and I liked it. Is my taste bad?" Does that does that?
I don't let other people's feelings dictate how
But
I
have you
feel
ever had
about
that
it.
experience?
It's how I feel about Minions: Rise of Gru.
Right, naturally. Or inversely, have you ever been like, everyone says this is the best movie ever made, and then you go see it and you're like, it was good. Yeah, it was good.
Me with Turning
Holy
Red.
and Dynamite.
Right? It's hard to now. I think the way and I was trying to talk to my friend Gabe about this, and he was like, just don't think about it. I was like,
Yeah,
"It's not
just
that-
don't care.
It's not that simple." This is why because this has happened to me so many times where I see a movie that's supposed to be like the best thing ever, and I'm like, I didn't like it that much. Prey, I was under the impression that Prey was really good. That was an accidental roast. And this movie, I knew that this movie was like everyone's life-changing new favorite movie of all time, and I was like, I'm scared. I'm scared. What if it's not life-changing for me? And it wasn't life-changing for me. And so now I feel weird. I feel like, oh, like I messed up. I did a bad job at culture. It's why I haven't watched it's not the only part of it's laziness. But it's a factor in why I haven't watched Better Call Saul yet, because everyone is like, this is flawless television. This is the best piece of television ever made. And I'm worried that I'm going to watch it expecting the best, Play-Doh form of the best TV show ever, and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to be disappointed because I went in expecting perfection. Basically, mass media has ruined my ability to form my own opinions, is what it comes down to.
I just say have a hot take and live with it.
Yeah, hot take. This movie was pretty decent.
Yeah,
but if I say hot take, Everything Everywhere All at Once was all right.
that's a shit take.
Well, no, yeah, because I don't think it's all right. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have to posture and be like, even here now on this podcast, going into it, I was like, I have to make it very clear that I really like this movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to
You
posture.
better.
Well, that's
wanna be the
mostly
real
because
me.
we have the environment
We
that
have a bad culture in here. It's
yeah, we'll just
bad
be
out.
bullied for being our true selves. Like, even think about with us, we can have different takes, still be cordial, still love each other, but like you won't live it down, like
Yeah.
how many times have you brought up that I don't like Turning Red? But it's not that I don't like Turning Red. But that's
Dude.
something that's like a consistent thing.
And this
even
is
when you're
it's a social media thing, I feel like. Really, it's like everything's very polarized. It's binary. It's you like it or you hate it. And I see this a lot on, because I was thinking about this thing with like the way we react to media and expectations around it. And I was for a second I was like, is there a video essay here? I don't know. But think about like every time a new Marvel movie comes out, people are like, the two reactions that happen are, this is shaping up to be Marvel's best project yet, or Marvel fell off. This is the beginning of the end for Marvel. And it's like, what? There's a middle ground in here
Yeah. But I mean,
somewhere.
that's been happening forever though, no?
Has it? I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
Yes.
because think about it, like when Star Wars came out, even the prequels came out,
true. Yeah,
foots were
yeah.
on necks, bro. They were not happy about it.
That's
And
true.
it was like even now prequel sympathizers or apologists are coming out and be like, yeah, no, the prequels weren't that bad.
That's the thing.
And
That's
sure,
the thing that's
some people will
interesting
be
is,
like,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But there are other people who are like, okay, yeah.
I feel
like
like
they're really not
interesting.
that bad.
I think it's maybe partly visibility. Like now, just everyone's opinion is so much clearer and louder, and like you can see
Yeah.
what everyone's thinking all the time on Twitter.com, which is a really scary thing. That I think everything everywhere all at once is very much about the internet. So I'm glad we're talking about this. But I think it's also that, and I've also have you noticed um like renaissanceification of movies, like you were talking about with the prequels. Now like it was cool to hate the prequels, and now it's cool to love the prequels. Even, and I think it's happening much more rapidly, where people are like, people switched back around on Andrew Garfield. For a while it was very popular to not like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Now though, people are like, those, this whole time I've been saying it all along, they're the best ones. It's like, you haven't been saying it all along. Or
Yeah, but
even,
this is just how humans work. Like,
but I even
we
saw it
live in
happen.
these cycles.
But I even saw it happen
James
with like,
aims to get the gotcha. He's
Yeah.
aiming to be like, no, you weren't here. Bandwagon.
but I saw
Like-
it even happened where someone was like, the Fantastic Four movies, they need to bring those guys back in a multiverse because those guys were great. It's like, what? No,
Yeah, 'cause-
not-
Well, like, think about sports teams. Every single year, people are bandwagoners. They go from hating a
Yeah.
team to loving a team, and it happens in the blink of an eye because people change their opinions. Because people, and I think it gets exacerbated by places like Twitter, which aren't real places. Like Twitter, anything
It's
that someone
not
posts on
real.
Twitter is not someone's actual take. You will never find a real take on Twitter.com because it's not a person saying that. It's like somebody's version of themselves that needs to have a cool, relevant take on Twitter saying that. If you actually talk to someone, people have such complicated opinions on things. And if you actually get to the core about what they like and dislike about, I guess, movies specifically, it's a lot of stuff in between. It's not just like, I love every single bit of this or I hate every single bit of this. And even if it is, they have explanations and deep reasons for all of that. Or at least I have to believe that for this world to make sense. I have to believe that people like at some
Yeah.
point have reasons for what they think and are not just like or they are hopping on and they know that they're hopping on. But like the idea that nostalgia can shape the way that these movies are viewed in our minds is I think we recognize it so much because it's the first time it's happening to us. We've just come of age to finally see what nostalgia is. Like if you are Gen X and you have seen all of the Gen X projects coming back, like Top Gun, the first Top Gun is probably not the greatest movie ever made. The second one's really, really great, like unironically. But I think a lot of people wanted a Top Gun 2 because they were so nostalgic about the Top Gun 1. And you could say that for so
Yeah.
many different IPs and projects. Like,
yeah, I know, like, I know how nostalgic. I guess I feel I cannot shake the feeling that there is something different happening, that maybe I'm not communicating properly. But I very much feel like, yeah, we do, people have always been nostalgic and people have always had, funky opinions in the pulpit. But I feel like it would be naive to not think that social media and the internet has significantly changed the way we talk about art.
I think it only changes the way we talk about art on those platforms. I think that people, like, I believe that people have these complicated takes,
but
and it's
those
it's social media that's destroying them.
Yeah, but those platforms kind of are the only places people talk, right? Like
Not
that
if you let them.
I don't know. I mean, you can choose to get off Twitter, but that doesn't change the fact that Twitter's like the kind of hub of I don't know. I don't know.
I think to different people, Twitter is different things. I don't go on
Yeah.
Twitter, and I also don't think that Twitter, like, I would have to look at the analytics even to say if it's the hub of all like human
Or, like,
conversation.
social media in general, I feel like it's kind of undeniable that maybe I'm getting too deep into something that's not really related, but I don't know. I have a feeling, I have a gut feeling that overall discourse has been influenced by social media, and maybe that's the most basic way to phrase that take where it's still defensible. But
Yeah,
uh,
and uh,
I
I
don't know.
guess if you phrase it
It
like
makes me feel
that,
weird and spooked. Well, I phrase it like that because I guess I just can't figure out how to actually say what I feel. Um, but it's
fair.
weird, and it
Okay,
makes me feel a very distinct way, and I'm very frustrated by the fact that I'm having a hard time phrasing it.
it's okay. It'll probably come up in another episode, and you'll have just the right
It'll
words
come
for
up
it.
in
True.
50 years
And you're like,
when
oh,
we're
that's what I wanted to say.
when all we are is retweet buttons in the metaverse,
Yup.
and then you guys will see.
Oh my gosh. Well, on the topic of jumping in deep, let's talk about family dynamics in this movie.
Woohoo!
Let's talk. We can look at either Evelyn and Joy or Evelyn and Raymond.
So Raymond is really I like him a lot. I was telling Charlie earlier about how Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi from Disco Elysium is one of my new favorite fictional characters. Waymond slid right in next to him after I watched
Yep.
this movie. What a just good guy. And I love how
He's so good.
the turning point for Evelyn in the movie is realizing that like Waymond was right all along. Like this man's had it figured out from the start of the movie. And so Evelyn's here like freaking out, going on this crazy adventure, and Waymond's just like, yeah, everything's crazy, but you still have to like be a good person. And Evelyn's like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
I love something never gets old to me about the message of like
Kindness.
everything's going bonkers and nothing matters and but you still have to be, but like, okay, be nice, L. Um, it's all of my favorite media essentially boils down to like, okay, and go love someone. Um, and I just this movie does that delivers that really well, and so I love Wayman.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say.
it's so awesome. My favorite saying, my favorite quote is "Goonies never say die," and it's awesome that a
Yeah.
Goonie in this. Oh, okay, James has left. And it's awesome that a Goonie in this movie is the one that never says die and that says "Let love lead." Let love be the way that you fight. What, James?
I said, I'm sorry. I just got my internet freaked out, and I'm so sorry if I interrupted you in the middle of your point. But my Discord did like 15 flips, and I just need to make sure
You're all good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're back. You're good.
I'm sorry.
Charlie, do you want to
Repeat
say that
yeah.
again? Yeah, say it again.
Hold on, I need to get. Oh, and like it's really awesome that in this movie, my favorite quote is "Goonies never say die." It's awesome that a Goonie says that in this movie, right? Like that Wayman says, "Lead with love, don't say die, don't give up, like fight, but fight kindly," right? And it's my favorite part about his character, and it's the optimism that I seek in media so much. And something that's really funny is like there's a lot of older critics that have reviewed this movie, and they see the nihilism, specifically in Joy's character, as like it's this younger generation of people. They're all nihilists and they all hate themselves. I don't know if I necessarily agree or not with that statement, but I think that Waymond shows that like people, specifically younger people, do respond very nicely to positivity, because although Waymond is not young, the people that watch this movie, at least I know a lot of young people that watch this movie, they find hope in it, and they find solace in it. And I'm glad that Waymond's message is connecting with people.
Yeah. Wow. Really, really well said, Charlie. That's awesome.
Good take points, baby. Let's go.
Good
Going on the
take
wall.
points. Yeah. James, how are you feeling?
I don't know. I kind of wanted to see you handle that. But thank you for passing it to me. I mean, yeah, no, I think that's a very fair assessment. There is a lot of like I think part of the reason this movie resonated so much with people, young people, is because, I mean, a lot of them probably do see themselves in Joy. Like, I think it's a fair assessment to say that Joy is like, represents our generation because she's in it. Um, but I actually read somewhere that originally this movie was supposed to, like, Joy was originally going to be the main character. Um,
Mm,
and I think, and I may be misremembering, but I believe one of the Daniels, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, became a parent over the course of making this movie, and that significantly affected the message. Like it made it a significantly more hopeful message. Um, and I just think that that is very interesting. That you know part of that was probably the shift from this being about Joy to being about Evelyn, the mother. Um, I I love this movies about parents and like just the idea of parenthood. I think there's so much interesting stuff there. So I think that was probably definitely the right choice. And I just
yeah.
wanted to give a shout out to Michelle Yeoh and Ki Kwan, who both killed it as Evelyn and Wayman. Um, I'm so glad they brought back Ki Kwan because I haven't like seen him in anything since the Goonies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, definitely watch his interview talking about this movie and his experience in Hollywood after the Goonies. It's very, very like enlightening and also honestly kind of emotional. Because he really touches on the reality for a lot of like Asian American like actors and actresses that they're really not with such limited representation that you don't get as many gigs. And then I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that coming out of seeing the success of Crazy Rich Asians, he came back into the acting game because he basically was retired or not doing acting for a while because he just wasn't getting asked for um yeah, he wasn't being asked to do anything. And seeing that kind of sense of representation inspired him to kind of go get back into acting. And this was the first gig that he landed.
it's a crazy
Huh.
first gig to
Yeah.
land. I'm gonna dig
Yeah.
that more.
Crazy and
Well,
amazing.
and he had been a stunt coordinator inside that period. So
Yes. Yeah.
like one of the really cool things about this movie is that it's all about the multiverse and it's very meta, even to the point where like there's basically a Michelle Yeoh self-insert character as one of Evelyn's alter egos. There's a lot of fighting that Wayman does, and obviously the actor is like a stunt coordinator. And even the character of Gong Gong, I haven't seen Big Trouble in Little Chinatown, but apparently his character inside of that movie mirrors a lot of his character inside of this movie. And it's just really cool that they were able to add that extra final layer of meta-ness on top of it all.
Yeah. Honestly, it's great. It's great. Yeah, I was looking at the IMDb and James Hong Gong Gong is the voice of Mr. Ping and Kung Fu Panda, which I love. I love so much. But I
Mhm.
definitely it's great to know that he's a like stunt coordinator. I don't know why that didn't stick in my head because the fight choreography in this movie is absolutely insane. It's so fun. Um and just it's just so enjoyable to watch. Like when you see something that's so crisply done, you're like, okay, you were having fun doing this, and I can definitely tell that you were having fun. Like a fanny pack fight? Are you joking? Taking guards
Yep.
out with a
Yeah,
fanny
no,
pack?
that all ruled. You're very right. Every action set piece felt like it had a lot of love and care put to it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I just love. I also on the point of this movie kind of shifting to being about parenting. I loved that was a choice that they went with especially when we're talking about generational trauma, we usually look at the youngest generation and how it all kind of funnels down and hits them in kind of like this whole waterfall. But we really ignore or tend to not look at the youngest generation's parents as anything more than, oh, they're just a product of their parents. Like going into it, like this movie did, like, yeah, Evelyn's a product of Gong Gong's like um kind of neglect and apathy and all this stuff, and kind of just being super hands off and very critical and all this stuff, and seeing how that affected her and how she was able to carry that into her relationship with her daughter, and essentially creating this horrible like villain. Like she created her worst enemy because of the treatment of herself and her daughter, which is just it's just so amazing. I don't know how it would have looked if Joy was the main character, but
Mhm.
I feel like it's very, very I don't know. It hits home for a lot of people, because I feel like, especially right now when we're looking at all of these people kind of overhauling their relationships with their like toxic parents, or realizing that their home life as a child or their relationship with their parents are actually like weren't the healthiest for them. And I feel like in the media, or we're kind of in this era of, oh yeah, we'll just cut them off and kind of move on with your life, which if that's what you want to do, that's completely fine, that's up to you. But then there's also like this need for empathy in a way, because I feel like some people understand, but not everyone does, that your parents, like, not like the whole hurt people type thing, but like literally that, like your parents are simply doing onto you what was done onto them. And they just don't have the facilities or the capacity to see that for themselves, even though you might have the resources to see it, you know? Um, yeah, that was just a very interesting thing for me.
Charlie and I are both looking at each other like, you wanna
Oh, sorry.
you wanna respond? No,
Oh.
no. I seriously, Casey, always well said. I always think it's funny. I feel like I'm always the first one to jump in. So I tried to like to not and see what happens.
I was just stunned because I think we're so outclassed. I was like, oh my god.
Why does she agree to talk with us? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, guys.
uh, um, but I don't know.
You don't know?
Have we said everything everywhere?
Yeah.
We've said it, and sometimes all at once.
Yeah, or over like 46 minutes approximately, according
Over
to
about-
my little timer.
46 minutes. There is one thing that we didn't do.
What?
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
You know what time it is. Just kidding. We know exactly
Congratulations.
what.
To take us
this-
into the
Yep. You take
Yep.
it. You take it.
Go
To
ahead.
take us into the spiel zone. Today, I would like to thank some patrons. Questions coming soon, but today we just want to thank and give gratitude. So without further ado, I would like to thank all of our patrons who donate at least $1 per month to us at patreon.com/Socratic Cinema. Without further ado, we would like to give a big thanks to let's knock out the DeLisios. We got Rachel DeLisio, Lisa DeLisio, Peter DeLisio. Thanks for keeping it cool. You guys rule. We got some Clarks coming in representing Clark Gang. We got Jeanette Clark, Heather, and Michael Clark. Big shout outs to you guys. We cannot forget Christopher Heatherly, always keeping it real. Shout outs. Big thank you. We'd also like to thank Mariah Helm, Roger Anderson, Salvador Reyes, SkullHammerSmash, Samuel Copeland, And I think that's everybody. So big thank you. And if you want to be thanked,
Hizzy Hay?
did I miss Hizzy Hay?
I think you missed Hizzy Hay.
Hizzy Hay, I want you to know that I didn't forget. If you would like your name read by us, big honor. All it takes is $1 a month. You can become a patron at patreon.com/Socratic Cinema. But without further ado, on that note, I think we're coming towards the end of an episode, which means we must say our tearful goodbye. And I must thank you for watching. And I gotta ask, drop a comment, let us know what you thought of EEAAO. Follow us on Instagram at Socratic_cinema. You can find us on Twitter at Cinema Socratic, where I scream into the void about social media and then use it anyways. You can also find us on all major podcasting platforms. Let me not forget about those. We got Apple Podcasts, Spotify, blah, 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 iHeartRadio, Podbean, everyone's favorite podcast platform.
Podbean?
Yeah, Podbean.
What is Podbean?
It's
everyone's favorite podcast.
Are we
station.
on Podbean?
We are on Podbean.
Who let us be on Podbean?
Okay, you are slandering Podbean right now. This is a conversation for off air.
I don't know how we got there, but we're there.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
I don't remember putting us on there, but we are.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for listening to us talk about everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And tell us your favorite movie of the year if you made it to the end. Bye-bye. Adios.
Adios. Watch out for bagels.
Yeah, they're bad.